Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is well. Happy Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us on the Boost. We've been talking about this idea of seeing somebody else. We've been speaking on this. Listen, if you've been on the Boost for a while, this isn't a new concept. We don't speak about things only when they're new. If it's important, we'll circle back to it. And this is I want to speak about it from a different context, a little bit of a deeper context. I hope I'm channeling Rabbi Levi right. When you believe in somebody else, you're actually building them spiritually. Like I want you to see that. I'm trying to see it myself. Nobody should think in any way that I've gotten anything. I'm struggling and studying and trying like you. But that's how we don't see it that way, right? If you give somebody food, you are growing them physically. Nobody, no normal parent would ever refuse their children food because they were mad at them or because they were disappointed in them. No normal parent would refuse to provide shelter for their family. No normal boss would stop paying their people just because they were disappointed in them. Like, it would take time, someone's livelihood. We have compassion on people physically. People are constantly creating charity campaigns and giving out food and homeless shelters and soup kitchens and chesed organization. There's tons of stuff that take place because we understand that when you deprive somebody physically, it's the wrong thing to do. Well, guess what? You can deprive somebody spiritually by withholding love, by withholding compliments, by withholding seeing them and not believing in them. It's an incredibly important insight in life that I was taught, not that I own, but I was taught. When you take the time to see the best in somebody else, when you take the time to connect to them, you're not just like doing the right thing because it's getting you more. You're actually breathing life into people. You're actually building them up. I was talking to somebody a few days ago who quit a job, very successful individual who quit a job. Why? Because she was in a company that the division worked incredibly hard through the year. At the end of the year, the CEO gave his toast for the year, the holiday party. They had the best year of their lives, the company, and he basically said it all comes down to sales, to the sales department. And she's sitting there having run an entirely different division, killing themselves all year, creating an infrastructure, right? Doing everything behind the scenes so this company can thrive. And the CEO said, sales. And it dawned on her that she didn't even think he knew what they did. And she watched the face of her group drop. He just destroyed his company because he refused or wasn't able to see the value of somebody that wasn't like him. He was a sales guy. When we withhold our support for our family that doesn't live up to our expectations, and we think what it's doing is it's building them, it's not building them. That whole way of disappointment to build up only works. It almost never does. If it would ever work, it only works when you give them so much love that when you don't give them a certain amount of love, they feel the difference. But if they're used to you being disappointed and thinking less of them, all you're doing is putting them in a position where they're going to be incapable later on of being the people that they're meant to be. And we're human beings, all of us. We try our hardest, and when even as parents or spouses or friends or community members or whatever role we play, we're human beings at the end of the day, and we get disappointed, and we do feel bad, and we do take things offensively, and we do look down on others, even if they're close to us. We just need to know that there's a consequence. You just need to know that when you react to somebody else through passive aggression, it's still aggression. Just because you don't say the words doesn't mean that doesn't have an impact. When you're a teacher of a school, I can tell you this, for those who are teachers or no teachers, you should, it's serious business. You have an incredible amount of influence. You have no idea how powerful you are. Teachers do not understand their worth. Their eyes can destroy a kid. Period, end of story. Really. And if not, then at least their eyes can create a kid, can build a kid up. One teacher that believes in you could be why you succeed in life, for sure. If you're clergy, I want you to understand something. I don't care if you're teaching a religious topic in a school, or you're clergy in a synagogue, or wherever you are. If you're clergy, you not only represent yourself, you represent God. So when you look down on people, they feel like God is looking down on people. That's a big deal. You got to take that seriously. It's scary for us to understand how powerful we are. Scary. It is easy for us to think that person's powerful. It is easy for us to look at the world and see that the world is coming and going based on politicians and billionaire CEOs and heads of organizations. Like, it is easy for us to live our lives and assume that the movement of the world is taking place in the hands that is not ours. It's not true. Period. It's not true. Whether you want to believe this or not, it's not true. You have an incredible amount of power on other people. Period. I don't care what your circumstances. You interact with people all day. Whether it's the train guy, whether it's someone you're related to, whether it's someone who works for you or you work for, it don't matter. It don't matter. Especially now. Even if you're sitting in a cabin somewhere in Alaska, you're interacting with people. And you have the ability to infuse in them spirituality. You're not going to give, yeah, you can, actually. I think you can build them up so they can actually have a capacity to be givers, to be happy, to be excited. You can encourage them. You can see the best in them. You can go beyond yourself to think about the way they see the world. You can give them the benefit of the doubt, even though you would never have done that. But you're not them, and they would never have done half the things that you do. We don't understand how each mind is so different. There's some minds that see the world so differently than ours and struggle with things that we don't even know about. There are people with anxiety that have anxiety about things that we don't even realize, but they do. And when we withhold our love and support for them, it only hurts them. We think we're helping them. When you realize how powerful we are and how meaningful life can be at our fingertips, if we're just willing to go past the great me, if we're just willing to just go beyond ourselves a little bit, the vast, incredible spiritual world has so much to give us and to give them. It's a different life. Same body, different life. Because your perspective shapes your reality. And the perspective of going beyond self shapes self. Just what direction you're in. Two cars on the same highway, one's going north, one's going south. They could be at the same gas station. They're just positioned opposite directions. They're in two different planets. They're in two different planets. One family's coming home from vacation, one family's going on vacation. They're standing next to each other at a gas station, pumping gas at the same time. They're not in the same ballpark of each other. There's one person trying to get more materialism, one person trying to get more spirituality. They could be the same bodies, the same bus stop, standing right next to each other. They could be sitting on cars right next. They could be walking down the street together. They're in two different planets. That's the choice you make every day. What direction am I heading in life? More selflessness, trying to find ways to connect to people deeper, trying to see people better, trying to work on myself, to not be upset with people that are not like me? Or am I working on myself? More me. How do I manipulate? How do I get? How do I accumulate? I don't care if we're in the same place in life or in two different directions. Okay, crew. Have a great weekend. A lot, I don't know. This is where I think what God's getting. I think that's what God's getting after us. Honestly, I think what's what God wants of us. To come to this world as little babies, completely selfish, and to spend a lifetime until we're completely selfless. I think everything else is just a detail. Important details you can't overlook. All right, we'll discuss it with God's help. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. And with God's help, I cannot wait to see you again next week. Have a great weekend.
Living on a lifeline, the world doesn't ever seem to change. Looking for the sunshine, but you're caught up in the rain. It's like your eyes are wide open, but you cannot see. You're watching life pass you by like 1, 2, 3. Walking in destruction, the winds of life blur your vision. All the devastation forever feels like you're on the run. It's time. No one else can set you free. You're locked inside.